hours. Got it.
Okay, let's see here. Do we want to go all the way back against the wall?
I do, but it's kind of cold.
Yeah, but I'm
I
just
think
worried.
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm worried about when my fucking.
We'll go against the wall. I think I'll be all right.
I think that we should probably lift this up, bring this in a little bit. Okay. Whoever the fuck is watching, what's up? Still trying to get everything just situated till 6:15 here. If you're already in, what's up? Give us just a few minutes to get situated here. See if I can see myself in here with Wes. There we go. Look up, Wes. Can you see yourself? There we go. And cool. Yeah. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
To get this going? We got like 1 minute.
I feel like it doesn't show me that well, but I don't know that matters.
You're not wide enough.
Huh. I'm not wide enough.
You're not wide enough, bro. Hold up.
How white do I need to
We
be?
can change it. We can change it. Hold on.
Like a type of filter or something.
No,
Looks like a rave now.
it does look like a rave. Hold up. Whoa!
Hope you don't have epilepsy.
I hope nobody has epilepsy watching this.
It's like watching those old Pokemons.
Where in the fuck are the oh, there we
I think
go.
that's fine. Well, the previous one.
That one and that one.
Sure.
That makes me look like a fucking pacey white. What's up, everybody? Anybody watching? Nobody? We might be talking to our fucking selves. So, Wes,
What up?
good to have you here, buddy.
It's been fun.
Yeah. Wes came to town for a tournament, and it was working. I asked him to come stay with me. What's been going on in your life?
Jiu-jitsu, getting back into that. I broke my leg and my ankle in March, like you know, last year. So it hasn't been totally a year since I broke it. I started competing again in December. So broke my ankle in March, competed in December. So, 9 months later, after breaking my ankle and my leg pretty bad, I was competing again. I won. Starting to train, twice a day like I should, for competition. Thinking about PANS, getting my arrangements for that. That's the tournament I broke my leg and ankle in, so I want to go back there and prove that, things can change, year by year. You don't have to be where you were the previous year. You can go from really messing yourself up to winning the tournament, and it's kind of a metaphor for life or a microcosm for life, and it's one of the reasons why I do jiu-jitsu. So yeah, it's basically what I'm working on right now, my jiu-jitsu.
Right on, man. That's what's up. Wheel. It's kind of cool that like a year later, that after you broke your leg and you won the match. You didn't mention that. You're too fucking humble. Like,
Yeah.
my homie fucking broke his leg and then proceeded to just win the match. It's like, why?
Well,
Might as well while you're out there, right? If you're already going to the hospital.
yeah, I'm pretty stubborn.
A year later, going back in the competition, the same competition that you broke your leg at last year. That's pretty fucking awesome. And when I tell that story about Wes to people, they're like, what? What the fuck? Like, he broke his leg, like, and won the match? What? Sounds like some superhuman shit, man. So
Thanks.
that's what's up. Well, I'm glad you're back and going. I know for a while there you were going through it, but it's good to see you starting a new year and a new attitude and everything with as far as competing and
Thanks.
yeah, dude. So we're here today. last year in 2023, at the end of the year, I got my black belt, and that was cool and everything. But honestly, I haven't really said a whole lot since getting my black belt about fucking like how I feel and what all the feelings and stuff like that. And really, man, I'm just not really that stoked about it. Like, because when you get promoted to black belt, man, it's like you're wearing a fucking target on your back. Everybody wants to be that guy in training that taps a black belt. Is like, oh, I tapped a black belt today. Well, yeah. Like that's supposed to happen. I think if anybody trains for any length of time and really pushes themselves and like their goal is to learn, they're gonna do things that put them in compromising positions. And black belt doesn't have any kind of like condemnation of like you have to have a certain skill set. There's no standard for black belt anymore, man. Like I remember back in the day coming up, like you used to have to like fucking give your arm, leg, and firstborn child to obtain a black belt in jiu-jitsu. You had to fucking like, you had to go like, in my professor's generation that I started off with in 2008, you had to fucking fight MMA, you had to fucking do judo, you had to compete in jiu-jitsu, you had to be able to demonstrate and take these tests with like self-defense and all that stuff, and it was a different ballpark back then. But as we talked about before a lot in private, like jiu-jitsu isn't really being like thought of as martial arts, except for like the quote unquote self-defense guys, and then like now it's so much like a sport. Like this is a lucrative way for some people to like live their life, and people where you train at like knows this like they know this is a way of life, man. For those of you guys who don't know, if you've never seen the video on YouTube, the YouTube series Daisy Fresh, that's where Wes is from. That's where he trains. He's a purple belt under Heath Pedigo. And for those of you guys who didn't know, and yeah, man, that's the way of life for the guys over there. So, what are we going to talk about today, Wes? Brazilian politics.
Brazilian politics, and some of the things that it relates to, like people telling you that you can't date certain people just because you do jiu-jitsu with them, or people that want to know everything about your past just because you pay them to do jiu-jitsu, and somehow by you paying someone to do jiu-jitsu, they get the liberty to tell you how to live your life, to judge you for your past, and kick you out of school, blackball you, or whatever else. And just how it's really messed up, and it's a messed up way of doing things, and it's not how any other industry does things. And so we're gonna get into the weeds on that one, and all that.
Yep. So here's what I've seen over the last 15 years, man. That's like I told Wes when we were talking about doing this YouTube live. I told him that, man, I really think that this needs to be broken down for some of you guys who are new to jiu-jitsu, or maybe even some of you guys that have been training a while are just not hip to like owning a school or the industry or anything like that. Maybe you just train for fun and like none of this stuff like really bothers you and you don't deal with any of this stuff. But as an academy owner, and as an academy owner, I think this stuff matters. I think our industry matters. And as someone like, if you're considering doing jiu-jitsu for the first time in your life, and you've never like walked into a gym before, and you're seeing highlights of Gordon Ryan and like, hey, this stuff looks cool, and I want to get into this and start doing this stuff. There is a lot of people sit around and they talk about the benefits of jiu-jitsu. You ever hear that? Like, jiu-jitsu saved my life. That's one of them. Like, what's another like jiu-jitsu like benefit? like a stereotypical one.
It's good just that they don't have friends unless they do jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
It's a big thing I hear.
Yeah. Health benefits, self-defense, all the benefits go on and on and on and on and on. But people like me and Wes who are a little bit more eccentric, that's a one way to put it. Other people would say assholes, or
assholes,
undesirables, or degenerates, or I can't think of any other clever vernaculars, but yeah, you get the case.
Yeah.
People like us who have been like kicked out of gyms and stuff like that because they don't like the way we carry ourselves, or maybe we were a bit too rough, or like something like that, or maybe we needed some more explaining. Maybe we asked too many questions or something like that, and the instructor didn't, have the wherewithal to like explain like what the fuck is going on. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so people like that are out there that are wanting to get into jiu-jitsu, and first of all, you need to know that like I really don't think jiu-jitsu is for everybody. I think like the personality type for jiu-jitsu, I mean, like, I don't think it's for everybody. I think that there is a certain type of person that does jiu-jitsu that like really sticks around, forever, and like makes it a part of their life. And I think there are some very defining characteristics that like you can know if someone is has the right temperament for jiu-jitsu. Wouldn't you say?
I think so. I think that most gym owners are not going to tell you that jiu-jitsu is not for you, or that it's not for certain people.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to tell you that they care about everybody and they want to be included, and they will tell you jiu-jitsu is for everybody. But I think I just get the feeling a lot of people that will say that don't mean it, and they also are thinking about student enrollment and student retention, and so of course they'll say that. But when you see that people get alienated and blacklisted and excluded from jiu-jitsu, it's frustrating for a lot of people, because it's this thing that you're talking about that is so important in people's lives, to give them a sense of belonging to something bigger than themselves, health benefits, self-esteem, whatever the case may be, and then someone takes that away from them. So it's really disheartening, and it's great to shed light on that, because I know I'm a great person, I know you're a great person, and even though sometimes we haven't been the best training partners, we still deserve to have jiu-jitsu in our life, and we've fought very hard to have jiu-jitsu in our life. I know that when I've been kicked out of every gym at my hometown, and I ended up going to Pedigo Submission Fighting in Mount Vernon, Illinois, which is the Neverland of jiu-jitsu. It's where all the lost boys go.
I like that.
And before that, when I was kicked out of every gym in my hometown, there was a lot of mediocre people where I come from, and a lot of people that just didn't want to push themselves to be excellent, and they did it as a hobby. They did it because it was fun, and they felt insecure and threatened by other people that were competitive in training. And I had a real problem with that, because I've always wanted to be the best at what I do, and I've had ambition and drive and goals and a vision, and I wanted to see myself on the podium and all this other stuff. And so when I would train with these people, I would go hard, and I didn't care how they felt. Some of these, especially the people that told me that they wanted to compete, that they wanted to be great, I figured that's what we should be doing, is beating each other up, But they didn't like that, because they truly didn't want that.
Yeah.
They pictured in their head like, okay, I want to be great, I want to be a great fighter, I want people to cheer my name and all this stuff, but they didn't want to actually do the things that would get them able to do that, put in the work, become good, and perform. So as a consequence, I got myself kicked out of pretty much every gym.
Yeah.
I was told, oh, I don't have technique, I go too hard, I'm an asshole. But it's just people that were insecure, and by going to PSF in Mount Vernon, what I ran into there was I was just another guy. Everybody else was tough. They were hard as nails. They moved themselves. People moved from Australia. People got visitors from Asia, the European countries, got people from all over the States. We got people from many different demographics and ethnicities and all kinds of people. But the thing they have in common is they want to be excellent, and they do it. They win world champions and PANs and championships and who's number one and all this stuff, because they put in the work and they love it, and you know, because we focus on competition, we don't care about a lot of that fucking bullshit. Excuse my language, but fucking bullshit. You have to kind of let some shit slide, because like, if you got someone like yourself that's crazy enough to fucking drill jiu-jitsu for 3, 4, 5 hours, or someone else that's crazy enough to train in the laundromat that's 120 degrees at PSF, you know, they're not going to have their life perfectly squared away. They might have a little trauma.
Right.
You know, these are fighters. These are like savages.
That's why I wore this shirt, man.
Broken crown still right. Or
broken
crowns.
crayon still color.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where all the Lost Boys go.
Yeah, exactly.
The shit you were saying, man. So yeah, dude, like, I mean, and what do you do like when you have the square pegs that won't fit into the round holes? You know what I mean? Like the fucking rejects, the misfits and stuff like that. Like, but all these people still want, like you said, they have the same goal. They still have the same goal for excellence. You just turn them away because they're socially undesirable. Like, what the fuck? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know, one of our topics is Brazilian politics, but really, like, that's a loose term. But really, when I get into it here in a second and talk about my experience, like, really Americans have really put this in place. Like, Americans have like sat by and like let this shit slide. And I think now, like, now that you're seeing a new generation of Americans in jiu-jitsu competition in the sport that are rising up, and like even the Brazilians and the Europeans and the Australians, they're realizing like, holy shit, like the United States is like the best place to be. Like the United States is the best place for jiu-jitsu in the world, arguably right now. And PSF has their staple in that, has had their like hooks in that market for a while. Like, if anybody who has watched that documentary listens to Heath talking about like back in the day, all the Brazilians and nobody could beat a Brazilian, and all these white boys were like, yes we can. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah, we can. Why the fuck can't we? Like, we're human beings too, you know what I mean? Like that whole like bow to the Brazilian guys. I was talking to a guy at a tournament one time, and they were smack talking with their buddy who was a Brazilian. And I have a lot of Brazilian friends too. We're not here just to shit on Brazilians, but there's a whole like dynamic that I think a lot of people don't understand, especially if you're new to jiu-jitsu. But if you're old to jiu-jitsu, you may not know this if you're not in the industry side of things. But I was at a tournament one time, and I asked a guy, like, they were talking shit back and forth. I was like, dude, why don't you go choke him out? He's like, oh, he's a Brazilian. I was like, what the fuck does that mean? He's a Brazilian. What does that mean? Does he not have arteries? Does he not have limbs? Like, is he fucking Superman? Does he have some way of, like, morphing his body to where, like, things don't break or something? Like, I don't know, dude. Like, I don't know what that means. But, so I'll get into it. Basically you have to know, like, the history of jiu-jitsu, or at least some of it, to kind of connect the pieces. So, like, jiu-jitsu came from Japan, and the Shotokan clan was like one of the biggest proponents of jiu-jitsu. Well, when the Japanese people decided that they really wanted to modernize their society, you know, jiu-jitsu and wearing top knots and carrying your swords and your kimonos and everything in public, that wasn't cool. Like, it went on to like short haircuts, and like you couldn't wear swords. That was made illegal, and you had to wear suits and not kimonos and all that shit. Like, that time period, like if you see the movie Last Samurai, that time period, that was when everything started to change, and the Japanese government was like, oh fuck, we can't do jiu-jitsu, it's too barbaric, so let's do judo like the sport. Let's do the takedowns, and when they hit, you know, they do the nuwaza on the ground. That's the ground fighting in judo. And, you know, we only do it to a certain point, and then they get their points, and then the match is over, or whatever the fuck. I don't know judo points, so I could, you know, I can't really speak on judo. But jiu-jitsu, you still had your purists, and Mitsuya Maeda, aka Kandi Koma, he was a prize fighter and a diplomat. So he was in Brazil at the time, and agreed to teach the Gracies jiu-jitsu, and that's kind of the birth of like the Brazilian jiu-jitsu. But essentially, when the Brazilians started doing jiu-jitsu in Brazil, right? And they started saying, we're going to open up our own thing. And Helio Gracie is, inventing his own style of jiu-jitsu and stuff like that. It pissed off the fucking Japanese people, man. Like, they were mad. They were like, okay, like, this is our fucking art. This is our shit. This is our culture. How dare you guys, like, be fucking, like, say, oh, you have jiu-jitsu now, like, and it's yours, and it's Brazilian jiu-jitsu. We didn't call it Japanese jiu-jitsu. Why are you calling Brazil? You know what I mean? And, like, and the guys were like, okay, well, let's fucking fight about it. You know what I mean? So that's where you get all these, like, Helio Gracie versus Kimura and all this stuff like that, blah, yada, yada, yada. Well, fast forward a few years, 1970s, jiu-jitsu is coming from Brazil to the United States by way of Rorion Gracie, and then eventually what would lead to the Ultimate Fighting Challenge, or otherwise known as the UFC. So Rorion moved basically from Brazil to California, and he was working he was cleaning people's houses, teaching jiu-jitsu out of his garage, and doing some stunt work and stuff like that. So like when he really brought jiu-jitsu into the 1970s, that really impressed upon like a new generation of Americans, like jiu-jitsu is coming from Brazil to the United States. So that is our direct link, like, to jiu-jitsu, like as we know it today, like the Brazilian style of jiu-jitsu where we're on the ground and stuff like that. Before we had the Japanese jiu-jitsu, kind of like taught in the Army Combatives program, stuff like that, all those little little shitty wrist locks that are like all those stupid things, you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. We had all that stuff, but we didn't have access to this new thing. And Rorion and a few production majors, they got together and was like, oh, let's put the UFC together and we can display how jiu-jitsu is going to beat the fuck out of everybody, yada, yada, yada. We all know that story. But the thing about it is what happened after the UFC. What happened after the UFC, and this is something that I got to experience in my lifetime. So it's like, after the UFC, like, all these people are like, oh my God, Royce Gracie's a bad motherfucker. Like, gotta learn his jiu-jitsu. Like, we have to know what he's doing because this 170-pound dude's just fucking everybody up, which is cool. Okay? So, like, but everybody, like, that just started the beginning of this, like, everybody's intrigued and wanting to learn jiu-jitsu, which I think is a great thing. So what we end up having is a supply and demand problem. Any businessman knows what that fucking means. It's like, we have this beautiful product, but we don't have enough black belts and we don't have enough certified instructors to teach it on a world scale or even a national scale in the United States. So what do the Brazilians do? They pick up the phone and they say, hey bro, come on over here. I'll give you a job at my academy. You know what I mean? Like, you guys come over here and teach and stuff like that. And so at first, that was a beautiful thing. It was like, oh, guys are coming over here, they're struggling to make it. There's no real money to be made in jiu-jitsu at the time, so it's just out of passion. They're just leaving a country where they just, like, for better opportunities outside of jiu-jitsu, if that makes sense, right? So I don't fault anyone for making a better life for themselves. Leave a country that doesn't have as much resources and stuff like that and come to a better country where you have a better life and you can, seek employment and pursuit of liberty. I'm cool with all that shit. But over time, though, there became the same, similar to the way there's, like, you ever go to a church and people just love the pastor? You know what I mean? Like, they're not there for what's going on in the church, but they just love that pastor. He's a good front man. Or you ever listen to a band and, like, oh man, that singer's great. Like, take away the singer, the band's just shit. You know what I mean? Or they're just mediocre or whatever. There's nothing special to them. Well, that's kind of what began to, and we do this in society in the United States. That's why we idolize celebrities. That's why we build things up that we like. That's why social media is popular, YouTube, everything that we like, it just goes up, 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 up in popularity. Well, the thing about it is enough Brazilians started coming around and getting spread out through the United States, man, that people just started worshiping them like that, just like anything else that we worship, like social media, shit like that. And over time, man, like, the Brazilians are like, yeah, man, like, oh, this is who we are. Like, we are the ambassadors of jiu-jitsu in this fucking country. This is Brazilian jiu-jitsu, Originally, it was Gracie jiu-jitsu. And then there was a big-ass fucking, like, lawsuit and all that shit. But, you can find stuff about that online. But now it's Brazilian. Like, the Brazilians are, like, claiming it for themselves. And it's like, I can't tell you personally over how many times I've been called a fucking gringo inside of a Brazilian's academy. I cannot tell you, like, they'll be over there Portuguese. Você fala Português? A little bit. but I can, I can make out certain things. So when I'm over here and these black belts are sitting in the corner gossiping, whispering, a gringo, like I can hear that shit. You know what I mean? Like I fucking know. Like my first instructor was Brazilian, but anyways, like over time, these guys, us as Americans, we're giving these guys that kind of power and shit like that. And then I think that over time, like we see Brazilians going down left and right to Americans. Americans that fucking started grappling and they got really, really good at it, and they just keep coming back, and Brazilians start going down left and right. And then all of a sudden you see this big shift in jiu-jitsu where like the best jiu-jitsu in the world is in Southern California. The Brazilians got wind of that. They didn't like that shit either, man. They started going hard in competitions. After Eddie Bravo beat Hoyler, oh my God, it was just an outrage, at the ADCC. And after that, there was this rift between Brazilians and Americans and stuff like that. And there's always been this rift after that. And now since the popularity of no-gi, I remember when I was coming up, first of all, almost nobody trained no-gi. Do you remember that shit? Did you come into jiu-jitsu at that time? Almost nobody trained no-gi. You couldn't go anywhere and take the gi off. Oh, that's not real jiu-jitsu. That's not real jiu-jitsu. And nobody trained leg locks either. As a matter of fact, my instructor would tell me that if like somebody got caught in a leg lock at a tournament, like if somebody tapped somebody from a leg lock, people would literally take their fucking shoes off and throw it at them, right? Like my instructor used to tell me stories about that. And like there was so much just like closed-mindedness and idolatry from the American people when it involves Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, because when people like Dean Lister started leg locking everybody, like nobody wanted to learn leg locks. Why? Because their Brazilian professor told them, oh, you don't need to worry about that, my brain. Student retention's another thing. Student retention's a big thing. Like people, I think when the Brazilians came over here, they didn't have a very strong business model for jiu-jitsu, right? Like they just, train really, really fucking hard, go compete, win or lose, just repeat, like the cycle. And that's not really good. That's good for like people who want to be the best, like you said, and shit like that. It's good for like pedigo submission guys. But the average person is just not going to want to do that. So like there's, they started looking to other martial arts systems like Taekwondo and Kung Fu and all these people who had made a living, all these different martial arts styles that had made a living with their instructors just running their gym. And those guys are like, hey, what are you doing? Like, how are you retaining students? And they taught them all these little different things. So in the beginning of jiu-jitsu, when I started, it was very much like, we're going to come in here, we're going to put this gi on, we're going to fucking train our asses off, we're going to roll, we're going to tap each other, we're going to go compete someday. You know what I mean? Like, that's the formula. But then it became all this like, oh shit, we're going to come in here and bow, and then we're going to do a really, really watered down warm-up so that everybody can keep the pace. And then, like, we're not going to roll hard anymore. We're going to, it's like go light. Just go light all the time with everybody. Just be, which I get that. There's a time to go light and stuff like that, but it just became too much. But anyways, just after a time, man, I started realizing that like this is a cultural thing. Like these guys really believe like that they are superior to us because this is the origin where, or to them, this is where the art originated. But to me as an American, like I feel like you guys are just acting like the Japanese did to you. You know what I mean? I'm just seeing more of the same shit, like history repeating itself. So I'm of the mind like, hey, let's fight it out. You know what I mean? Let's go to competition. Let's train our teams up and go fucking compete each other and like do what you guys did to the Japanese. And like that's why I really look up to like the pedigo submission fighting and stuff like that, guys, because you guys always seem to want to make that like American jiu-jitsu and make Americans like statement, kind of the way the Brazilians made a statement to the Japanese. Like you guys seem to like really hold the torch when it comes to that. And I just want to take a chance to say that I do not hate Brazilians. I know it may sound like it because I'm fucking ripping on them right now, but I have a lot of Brazilian friends, and their opinions are fucking lining up with mine too. It's like it's not all Brazilians. It's not even most Brazilians that are in jiu-jitsu. I think it's a, like I said, it's strictly an industry thing. It's strictly like something that, like, if you weren't in the know about, that it may not be brought to your attention until much later. And that's how it was with me. I was a purple belt. And I remember one of the first times that I noticed that this was becoming a problem. I was a purple belt, and I was at Atlanta Open, and I will name drop this motherfucker because I really don't like him. I really don't care. I will name drop this motherfucker. But Roger Costa, I was walking up to him, and I saw him. He was with Gracie Baja, instructor out of Georgia, and I saw him, and I said, I'm sorry, not Roger Costa. Roger Costa was actually cool. What's his name? I lost his name. It's been a long time. His last name is Costa. I will look it up later. But yeah. But anyway, I called him by his first name, and I said, hey, what's up, man? And he said, do I know you? And he got real postured up like that to me. He's like, do I know you? And I said, yeah, man. I said, we've seen each other. He said, where do I know you from? Well, the Gracie Baja convention I was at like last year or whatever. He's like, oh, you must call me professor. And I looked at this guy, and I'm like, I would have called you professor, but now I'm not. Like, what the fuck, dude? You know what I'm saying? So, like, that was my first experience ever really noticing that, and how the tide started to change. Because when I first started jiu-jitsu, man, it was never like that. And I was around Brazilians all the time. I might be called a gringo, and that might be the most negative thing that I ever hear. But then after that, I started to notice just little things. And, you know, oh, we don't do leg locks. Oh, we only do IBJJF. Like, we don't follow this rule set. We don't like submission only. We like, and just kind of taking the reins of jiu-jitsu and trying to steer the sport where some of these academy owners want it to go. And I see the idol worship from all these Americans that just don't know any better. They just don't know any better. And then the worst part about it, and that's where we're going to get into our next segment, where we talk about interrelationship or interdating in the academy. Dude, then I started noticing something that was really, really, really disappointing to me. And that is when these idolized instructors start getting into your fucking personal life. You have some experiences with that? Because I got a few.
Yeah. I'm not sure how much personal information I want to give about it.
Right, yeah, sure.
But I've definitely had that experience.
Mm-hmm.
You know, before I got my blue belt, not under Heath, but the first time, I had my professor set me down and had a talk with me and told me, you know, he's given me a blue belt, and so now he expects certain things out of me. And I can't be living the same life I used to live. And I thought I was living a pretty good life. I didn't know that I was living this, you know, this life that was shouldn't be approved of, you know. Mm-hmm. And I just remember feeling like I had to walk on eggshells, because it was like, what, am I not going to be able to train here if I do something wrong? And what the heck is it that I could do wrong to not be allowed to train here? Yeah, it's like they moved the goalpost with that. They say that, you know, you can't train here unless you're a good person. Okay, well, what's a good person? You know, they can move the goalpost as to what they define as a good person. They can look at some people and be like, well, this guy got a DUI, he's getting kicked out of the gym. They move the goalpost for that one. They'll look at other people that maybe they like that person more, and they're like, well, he got a DUI, just an isolated incident. Mm-hmm. He can still train here. And those are just made up examples, but you get the point. And, you know, these same professors that are holier than thou, they're still human beings. They're not perfect people that don't make mistakes. Mm-hmm. You know, they're human too. They get divorces. They have problems with their relationships. You know, some of them have screwed up majorly in other ways. So I believe that like you should be a little bit graceful with people and not so judgmental, and for one reason, because you're not perfect. But they kind of put themselves on a pedestal. But you'll see the same people doing that. They'll date their students if they want to, even though they'll tell their students not to date each other. The professor will date a student if she's hot, right? If he likes her enough. If that one just happens to be hot enough to where he's like, well, I'm going to make an exception.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden it's okay for the professor to date his student.
Yeah.
Um,
And one last thing I want to say before we jump into the dating part of it is like, man, it's another thing is like the with the idolatry comes like the building of ego. Like I know a guy that went to a Kyotera seminar one time, man, as a blue belt, and Kyotera had already established his dominance in the jiu-jitsu world as a champion and stuff like that. And Kyo was teaching a seminar at his place, and my friend was a blue belt, and like, he was just talking to him all wrong and everything. He's like, hey, do the technique. He's like, oh, can you show me what I'm doing wrong? He's like, yeah, that's not the way I'm doing it. He's like, well, show me what I'm doing wrong. And he said, okay. He's like, why I have to show you? He's like, I show you 6-7 times. So when it came to roll, like, Kyotera, from the story goes, like, Kyotera was just like rolling with this guy, and the blue belt like took his back. Like, this is like a phenom guy. He's one of my like top level friends, and yeah, dude, he took his back and was about to sink in the choke on Kyo, and Kyo tapped early and got up, stormed out of the room, and said, oh, you're not doing the real jiu-jitsu, and you're not respectful to jiu-jitsu, and like all that shit. And just, bro, you just don't want to admit that you got tapped by a gringo like fucking blue belt, and you're Kyotera, you're a world champion. You know what I mean? It's like, if I was Kyotera, I like to think if I was Kyotera, I would like to, I would be a little bit nicer to someone who was about to take my back and choke me at my own seminar. But that's just me. That's just me. What do I know? But anyways, dating in the academy, that is something that a lot of people are looking down on these days. It's a big thing. There's all kinds of fucking, if you look on BJJ Times or any like BJJ Fanatics Facebook group or anything like that, I'm sure you'll find an article somewhere on this subject. And it's like inter-academy dating. You want to kick this one off? You got some.
I'm pretty loosey-goosey on that. I really just don't think it's another adult's responsibility to tell an adult like what they should do with their life.
Right.
Aside from intentionally hurting somebody, there's really not much you can say to another individual as to how they live their life. You might not approve of it, but you really don't get to tell them not to make those choices.
Right.
And you damn sure don't get to do that if you're a jiu-jitsu professor. That doesn't anoint you with that right.
Yeah.
Maybe if you were a family member or something, I could understand. But like, the idea that because you have this title of jiu-jitsu professor, you're some person that can dictate how someone lives someone's life is just completely bogus. And, moreover, like dating in the gym, of course, dating has its time and its place, and it should be done with the right amount of class and respect and whatnot. I don't agree with being a cancer about it and just, banging every student that walks in and hooking up with people and then causing drama. If you do certain things like that, it is going to have some drama, and you might want to be mindful of that. Mm-hmm. But if somebody finds love at a gym, that's such a sacred thing, it's such an important thing to who we are as human beings. How are we going to go and tell somebody that they can't enjoy that part of their life?
Right.
Moreover, there's a lot of happy couples in jiu-jitsu.
Right.
There's a lot of people that have some really great things in jiu-jitsu and who met in jiu-jitsu.
My wife and I fall into that category. We met in jiu-jitsu when we were both white belts.
We have people at my gym. There was one couple that met through jiu-jitsu and actually got married in the gym.
Oh, that's
did a-
dope.
marriage ceremony in the gym. They're still married, still together, they're still happy.
At Pedigo? They got married at Pedigo.
Yeah.
That's so fucking dope. I gotta see some of these photos.
Yeah, I think it's on a YouTube.
Dope. Okay.
But,
I must have missed that one.
Yeah, there's a lot of couples like that in my gym. There's other people that do it too.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I don't like to name drop because
Right,
it's
sure.
people's life.
Sure. No, but here the thing about it is my argument to that, like, everyone's just like, oh, you shouldn't date your students and students shouldn't date students and stuff like that. And a lot of people say, inevitably people dating inside the gym, whether it's student to teacher or student to student, inevitably a lot of people just say like it just leads to drama. I think that is correct. I think most of the time it can lead to drama. But I think that, like you said, there are a lot of people in the world that are very happy and have been in long-term relationships meeting through jiu-jitsu. My wife and I met in 2009, December 3rd, 2009, to be exact. And we have been in each other's lives every day ever since. So, like, if I had gone by the standard, I wouldn't know my wife and we wouldn't have my daughter and, like, this life that we have together. So it's like, I think that most of the time, yes, there is drama with inter-academy dating. But, I don't know what to say. Like, what are you supposed to say to somebody who spends, like, I didn't have a normal 20s. Every day in my 20s, dude, I did jiu-jitsu. Like, from the time that I was 25, is like when we started our business, I did jiu-jitsu every day, sun up to sundown. How in the fuck, if you live that kind of lifestyle, like as a professional jiu-jitsu athlete or just someone that does jiu-jitsu all the time, like an academy owner or something like that, how in the fuck do you expect these people to have a different social circle? Jiu-jitsu is their job. Jiu-jitsu is their passion. Jiu-jitsu is their social circle. Like, how the fuck, like, okay, I'm a jiu-jitsu guy and I spend all day doing jiu-jitsu. So what am I gonna do? Go to a baseball game to meet a girl? Go to a fucking bar? That, like, I don't think I'm gonna find people that understand my passion in a baseball game or at a bar. You know what I'm saying? Like, where am I supposed to track these people down? I do not like online dating. I grew up in the fucking 90s. I know everybody likes to set up their, like, dating profiles these days and whatever the fuck, but, and cool if that's what you like to do, but I'm old school, man. I want a fucking face-to-face conversation. You know what I mean? Like, I want to fucking go out. I want to meet, like, and behind closed doors, I want to do other stuffs. But, like, I want to live my fucking life, dude. And just because I'm an academy owner or a jiu-jitsu black belt or even just a student in an academy where another person's training that I find interest in and they find interest in me back, I don't see why that's a fucking issue with people. Like, I think that if you're watching this and you have that issue with people, I think you have deeper issues, honestly. Like, I think you fucking, like, I don't know, maybe you need to stay in your fucking lane,
Yeah.
Yeah, at the risk of sounding like an asshole, I really think you need to stay in your lane, man. You need to stay out of other people's lives. Why are you concerned about who this guy is fucking or who this girl is fucking? Like, why are you doing that? Like, why? Like, you need to evaluate your psyche, man, because, like, normal people and even fucked up people like us, we don't think like that. I'm not, hey, Wes, who's such and such fucking today? Oh, I don't know, Josh. They might be fucking, or, that's not how, like, how happy people live their lives. So maybe, like, I don't know, maybe you need to self-reflect if you have that kind of fucking mentality about interdating. I think it's stupid. I actually have a few friends who their lives have been drastically fucking altered because they decided that they love each other and they were a professor and a student and they love each other and they ended up even making a very happy life for themselves, like, and have a house and getting married and stuff like that, man. And I'm happy for them, and they're like my favorite. They're like my favorite jiu-jitsu couple ever, man. But they've been through so much shit and ridicule and all these people not accepting their relationship and not wanting to come to their gym anymore because that, and then you got such and such a crazy ex over here and this guy's crazy ex mixing stories, saying all kinds of fucking bullshit, saying, oh, they didn't, you got one dude's, or this chick's ex over here because she don't like the guy that she's fucking, right? So dude, the chick's ex is like, oh, this dude's a fucking pedophile. Like, why is that a thing? Why is that like every single time there's a jiu-jitsu instructor and somebody's got a fucking issue with them, like that's the first thing that flies out of their fucking mouth. You know what I mean? Because that's literally the worst thing you can like that you can accuse a jiu-jitsu instructor of being. And I think with the internet, you know, being so prevalent and us being able to self-educate, I think you can just kind of look around and see like everybody's lives getting ruined by, you know, different things, and you're like, oh, I'll pick that one. I'll pick this insult. I'll pick this fucking tool. You know what I mean? To fuck someone's life up with. You ever see that shit?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of people out there just living their lives and being happy and pursuing their dreams. And I think that for someone that's not happy or that's jealous or that's unable to compete with those individuals, they will tear them down.
For sure.
Maybe they're miserable and they want that person to be on their level. Maybe they just can't compete with them in jiu-jitsu, so they have to make that person seem like a pedophile or make people believe that person's a pedophile so that no one wants to come to their gym, or someone will boot them out of the gym. Or they got to talk all kinds of crap about the relationship or spread rumors or disapprove of it just to kind of bring that person down to their level. So that's one of the things I don't like, and it's just the kind of the overlapping theme here is that people should be able to live a happy life doing the things that they want within reason, as long as they're not hurting anybody.
Fuck yeah, dude. I mean, as long as you're not fucking kids or like, you know, beating women or, you know, fucking like doing some real fucked up shit like that, man, hurting others, like you said, you know, like you're doing things that are not hurting others, then why the fuck are we having issues?
Yeah.
Martial arts instructors, you are not fucking religious leaders, okay? You are not. I mean, I know you feel like you feel like you're a counselor, a preacher, a fucking martial arts instructor, a mom, a dad. I know you feel like all these things, but guess what? You're fucking not. At the end of the day, all you know is how to fucking fight. That's it. That is it. You're not qualified to give anything else on these fucking mats. Now, if you have some kind of like, you know, like if you're a counselor, like if you're a licensed therapist, or you have another skill outside the mat, great. But guess what? Your students don't pay you for that. If you are qualified, like you are a qualified counselor, you are a minister or whatever the fuck, do that later. Charge them a separate fee. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? You are not the moral authority in jiu-jitsu, dude. Like, you have to let people find their own paths. You know what I mean? Because this jiu-jitsu is a very personal journey. Like, no two people are gonna have the same things to say about their journey in jiu-jitsu. I guarantee you, if we sat here and did a biography of my jiu-jitsu journey versus Wes's, they're gonna be two very different stories. We may have similarities, we may have a lot of them, but they're gonna be different stories. Nobody's gonna have the same fucking, you know, cookie cutter experience in jiu-jitsu. So all these instructors out there, they're like, you know, trying to steer people's lives and kind of manipulate them to see things as they see it. Like, that shit makes me fucking sick, man. Like, let people be who they're gonna be. Don't try to force nothing, you know? Don't try to force nothing, because if you force something, then it's never genuine. And you want genuine. You want genuine in your fucking gym. You want genuine because that's how you build relationships with people. That's how you have people telling tales about you like, this guy did me right. Be fucking genuine, you know? I don't know, man. I just think that, like, people talk about the benefits of jiu-jitsu all the time, and there's really a dark side of jiu-jitsu, and really it's the people. You know what I mean? It's the people.
Yeah.
So, like our friend Woody was talking about earlier today when we were talking about some stuff, it's like, go where you're wanted. You know what I mean? Like, if I had any advice to a new person starting jiu-jitsu, and like, shop around, train everywhere. Don't train at one place and just get fucking, like, you know, blown away by how beautiful the facility is, or the instructor's accent when he was talking like this to you. Wow, when you have an arm like that one, and he was saying like that, don't fall in love with his accent, okay? Like, don't do that, okay? Don't fall in love with the way they touch you, you know? God, you're gonna put your hand like that. You're gonna do this. Man, I have people, oh my God, dude, I watch people when they're getting an instructor, they're like, oh my God, a Brazilian's touching me, you know, like, it's just like, it's one of those things. You know how you watch people's body language? And I see like when, when people are getting used as Yukis, sometimes it's so fucking funny because they they don't stand like that normally. But like when they're like, oh, can I use you as a practice dummy or whatever? And they're like, yes, you know, like they just snap to attention. It's so fucking funny, dude. It's so
Yeah.
fucking funny to see. Just
No-
let things be natural and genuine, guys.
Yeah, your instructor's not omniscient. Your instructor is a human being.
Yeah.
They're not perfect. They don't know everything. So you can treat them like a human being. You don't have to treat them like they're some god or something. And you can think for yourself.
Sure.
I can remember being brainwashed as a white belt and a blue belt, and I thought the instructor I had could do nothing wrong. I thought that I couldn't leave their gym. I thought that if I left their gym, I was
Piece of shit.
just a piece of shit, and that if I lost a fight and wanted to go to another gym to improve, that I was actually the problem because I would be making excuses and not being patient and giving them time, and really getting the most out of what they were giving me, and that would actually be the reason why I lost. Never the fact that maybe I could get better instruction somewhere else. If you feel like you can get better instruction at a different school, that's a reasonable thing to think about and talk about your professor, and it's reasonable to if it like doesn't improve, to go somewhere else. So you can think for yourself, and you don't have to be brainwashed by your professor into thinking that you got to live your life a certain way, and you can't think for yourself, like you couldn't change schools or whatever the case may be.
No, there's quite a bit of brainwashing, or like you said, if you lose a tournament, first of all, that needs to just go away, dude. One of the things that I noticed about the best schools that I ever noticed is when one of their students loses a match, they don't fucking come down on them over it. You know what I mean? Like, no one gives a fuck if you win a jiu-jitsu match. It's a grappling match. I would give a fuck, like, if you got your ass beat in a street fight because you would be hurt. You're my friend. Like, I would care about you. But if you get your ass beat in a grappling match, dude, you're okay. You're gonna fucking live. Like you're gonna be all right. Okay, I think you're gonna be fine.
Yeah.
You're not in a fight. You know, I'm proud of you for getting out there and shit, man.
You don't
It's
have
a
to take
grappling match.
You don't have to take it personal, just like you don't
Yeah.
have to take it personal when you get tapped out in the gym. But the thing about failures is what they bring with them is the things that you've done wrong and the things that you can improve on. You can really learn from them, and just like if you got tapped in a gym, you don't feel bad about yourself, but you might say to yourself, well, how in the heck did I get caught? How did I not know how to escape? What do I need to do? And the same goes for your school. If you're at a school where you don't get pushed, you never breathe heavy, you're beating up everybody, you're not progressing in your techniques, and let's say you go out in competition, all of a sudden you get whooped, and you have nothing for that guy, and it's because you weren't getting pushed and you weren't learning enough techniques. Well, maybe there's a problem with your school, and it's okay to actually look for the truth as to like what you need to be doing. Maybe training somewhere else, or whatever the case may be.
So, when it comes to dating in the gym and stuff like that, we're to circle back around to that. My advice, dude, if with that though too, is like, don't let people tell you who to love. You know what I mean? Just like they don't tell you where to train.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, don't accept an instructor that tells you where to train. If your instructor is like, hey, don't go train over there, you should leave the gym that day, man, because no good instructors do that. I don't know a single instructor in the world, and I've been doing jiu-jitsu for 15 years, and I've been on the mats with Felipe Pena, fucking Andre Gaval, a lot of different high-level guys, Eddie Bravo, a few of the Gracies, Jean-Jacques Machado. I've been on the mats with some of these guys, man, and none of those guys act like that. So like, If you have an instructor that acts like that, man, holy shit, get the fuck away from them because they are toxic as fuck. They have bad intentions for you. Especially, man, if they're telling you who to love, man. Like, nobody can tell you who to love. Your heart wants who it wants, you know what I mean? And that's nothing that any jiu-jitsu instructor is going to be able to give you guidance in. So there's a saying that I really like, and I'm going to try hard not to butcher this because I have to think about it before it comes out of my mouth. But it's basically, don't put too much into the opinions of people you wouldn't take advice from. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that's where we get in this catch-22 when it comes to jiu-jitsu, because in the realm of jiu-jitsu, we would take advice from our professors, right?
Yeah.
We would take our advice from our professors, except we shouldn't take advice. We shouldn't seek advice from our professors when we leave the mat. Does that make sense? So in the context of jiu-jitsu, yes, I would seek my professor's advice, but outside the confines of jiu-jitsu, fuck my professor. I'm sorry. And I would want my students to be like that to me, because honestly, like, I don't have any real life skills other than jiu-jitsu, and I'm not even that great at jiu-jitsu. So It's like, I'm just saying, I would want my students to treat me like that as a black belt professor. So I fucking think that, what I expect that's how I'm gonna, what I expect from other people, that's how I'm gonna treat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, that's how I feel.
It's one thing I've really, and that's a really good point you make, is just because someone's good at jiu-jitsu doesn't mean that they're going to be good at other areas in their life.
Nope.
I've learned that with competitive jiu-jitsu. You know, jiu-jitsu is a kind of a young sport. In order to be good at it, you're going to be young, like in your 20s, and even people like Cole Bade in their teenage years. Rarely is someone good in their 30s and 40s, but so what you have is a bunch of people in their 20s and their jiu-jitsu is here. You know what I mean? But their character might be here. You know, the maturity might be here. You know what I mean? The way they treat people might be here. And you do kind of pedestalize people. You think, wow, you know, that guy is a world champion. He must have his life all figured out. We think that, and it's such a stupid thing when you actually think about it. There might be somebody that is a world champion, be the best in the world, maybe someone you even idolize that you've never met, and you might meet him and you're like, oh, this guy, he's
a piece of shit.
He's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
You know, or he sucks.
That's happened to me several
life.
times.
Yeah.
That's happened to me several times throughout jiu-jitsu journey, and in other walks of life too. I mean, like, and that's why that old saying's around that say never meet your heroes. You know, I was actually in a movie once. I'm not going to name drop, but I was in a movie with somebody that I idolized from when I was a kid, and I got a fucking opportunity to be in a movie as a stunt double with somebody that I grew up watching on TV every Saturday morning. And I was like, fuck yes, I'm ready to do it. Hell yeah. So I stand out there for 8 hours filming this fucking movie in the blistering ass cold, and I finally get to meet this guy. He comes out to do the set, and he's a fucking dick. He's a dick and a half. And I like idolize this guy my whole fucking life. You know what I mean? Like, be careful meeting your heroes, man. Like,
very true.
You know, like, you put, like Wes is saying, you put someone up on a pedestal, you might end up looking fucking stupid later on in life, you know? You might end up changing your mind once you know a few things, you know, like, so be careful who you idolize.
Yeah, when it comes to people, I've always had the best luck with having very low expectations of people.
Oh, yeah?
Not thinking that they know everything or that they could have the answers to all my problems or...
Show me.
Yeah.
You're in the show me state right now.
I am in
Missouri.
the show me state.
Yeah, Missouri's a show me state, so...
Well, they're showing me some cold weather.
Fuck yeah. Showing some snow. No, but we did have a good training session today. That was fucking cool.
That was good.
Yeah, shout out to my boy Woody. That's Chris Wooderson, and shout out to my students Annette and Frank for coming out and training with us today. We had a good little 3-hour training session. It was like a mini seminar. It was fun.
It was. It's good being around like-minded people. That's kind of where are we at on time?
3 minutes.
All right. Yeah, Josh is doing a good thing here. He lives here. He trains here. Just everything's about jiu-jitsu, and it's hard to find people like that are so dedicated and sacrifice so much and do so much. And we've had a few awesome, rare people gathering and doing great jiu-jitsu today, and that's something I'm thankful for, and we've talked about doing for a long time, and I'm glad I've got to do it. So,
Yeah, man.
Thanks, man. Appreciate
I've been
it.
stupid happy to have you here this weekend as my guest, man, and get to go out and eat and hang out and fucking learn jiu-jitsu and just get to spend some quality time with friends, man. Like when I moved to the Midwest, I didn't know anybody. I knew one friend that I had out here in the Midwest, man. And 2 years later, you know, fast forward 2 years later now, I have a lot of friends and people in the jiu-jitsu community like Wes, man, and people that I'm just really thankful for. So starting our jiu-jitsu Square One Jiu-Jitsu Academy back in August, man, like and just seeing the support that, you know, that I've had from my friends, and after obtaining my black belt and everything, and you know, it's just been real, man. I really appreciate you coming out here and seeing what we
Thanks, man.
do out here, and hopefully we'll get it to grow, because you know, we've only been open for business for like 4 months. So
Well, you're putting in the work. It takes time. You're doing a lot of good things.
appreciate that, man.
Some people, they fail at gyms because they don't want to put in the work. They don't want to eat, sleep, and breathe it, and it's not you. So if you keep doing it, in time, it will come. It takes a while.
Yeah, for sure. But I think we're gonna wrap it up tonight, guys. Thank you for coming out, dude, and thank you guys, whoever ends up watching this. Thank you for watching if you made it this far in, and we'll do another one of these soon, because I think they're really fun, and I actually got the fucking microphones now, so we're moving on up in the world.
Heck yeah.
All right, guys. Adios, amigos. Nah, we don't have.